Now on KOAM News at 10, a Joplin restaurant and food distribution center owner is indicted in a federal investigation about undocumented workers. Plus, an area healthcare provider claims to have an at-home COVID-19 treatment regimen, but the FDA has a warning about some of the drugs involved.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A Joplin restaurant owner and others are accused of smuggling undocumented workers into the 4-state area and beyond. This is KOAM News at 10. KOAM's Mike Mahoney joins us live with details.
Thank you, Dow. I am standing in front of El Charro. It's one of several local Mexican restaurants accused of using undocumented workers connected to a smuggling ring that operated in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. But the Specialty Foods Distribution Center in Joplin was where Homeland Security along with local law enforcement made their move with a raid earlier today. One of the people charged is Jose Bravo of Claremore, Oklahoma, who owns Specialty Foods Distribution in Joplin and several Mexican restaurants, including El Charro, El Charrito, and Playa Azul. Cantina Bravo in Webb City is also accused of using undocumented workers they obtained from the smuggling ring. Other people in the 4-state area named in the indictment include Jose Razo of Carl Junction, Anthony Dahl of Guatemala, who is living in Joplin, Miguel Tarin Martinez of Joplin, and Ramon Moreno Hernandez of Mexico, living in Nevada. And according to the criminal complaint, according to the indictment, the conspirators are accused of not paying federal and state taxes. They are accused of not providing proper overtime or workers' compensation. Now, for more information on this alleged criminal conspiracy involving 45 restaurants in multiple states, just head over to KOAMnewsnow.com. Live in Joplin, I'm Mike Mahoney for KOAM.
Mike, thanks. Police in Parsons, Kansas arrest a man accused of entering homes illegally while on drugs. Police say 50-year-old John Fields Jr. had been using PCP and marijuana when he tried to get inside an occupied car, was chased out of a home by the owner, and barricaded himself in an unoccupied house. When officers tried to arrest him, they say he grabbed a brick and tried to grab an officer's taser. No officers were hurt. Chris Warner joins us. Still hot out there, Chris.
It is. Even at this late hour, it is still pretty toasty, owing to a heat advisory, which will remain in effect through tomorrow. However, for the day, not too bad. I mean, for this time of year, I say it's not too bad. 95 is the high, 74 for the low, normal 89, 67, so nowhere near normal, not quite at record. Skywatch storm tracker not showing anything in our area. You got to go pretty far out to see any activity. I've been dealing with some severe weather up in Illinois and even a few severe storms out in Kansas. None of that's going to impact us here. In fact, the only thing impacting us here is that heat advisory, which runs until 7 o'clock tomorrow. Throughout the rest of the evening, we're going to go ahead and continue to drop off. And then tomorrow, we'll start the day at 76. We're going to warm up to 96. There's an isolated storm on there because we may see 1 or 2 isolated storms. We're going to break down all of that in the forecast here in just a couple of minutes.
Catch you then. Fort Scott, Kansas healthcare provider claims he's had success with at-home COVID treatments. Ryan Lewis, a nurse practitioner at Fort Scott Family Medicine, says he's treated roughly 50 patients using vitamins and prescription medications like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. However, the FDA warns against using both of those drugs to treat COVID-19, especially without a prescription.
From what I have seen, I can't argue with the results. From what I hear from other providers that have done the same thing with a much larger patient base and good results, I can't argue with that.
We have a more in-depth breakdown of the regimen on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Pitt State is reporting COVID-19 numbers again. Officials say testing began on August 13th with move-in weekend. Of the 817 students who moved in, 635 met the university's guidelines to not have to be tested. Of the remaining students, 3 tested positive. Since classes began on the 16th, there have been 9 positive cases with 17 students in isolation. The Pittsburgh City Commission last night moved forward with a $1.2 million land acquisition. Now, the property would be used to expand the city's North Industrial Park. The city will acquire a parcel of land located north of Atkinson Avenue and west of Free King Highway. Officials say the purchase is meant to help meet the growing demand for industrial space in the city.
It starts with job growth. So your community grows because you get people that want to work there and they move there and they need houses, so you build houses. But the first thing is they need jobs. And for us, we're kind of a manufacturing community anyway, so industrial parks are highly critical to us having those jobs that we can attract more and more people.
Officials say the parcel of land is nearly 200 acres. Also in Pittsburgh, crews today broke ground on a new residential area. 3P Development Group out of Bryant, Arkansas began work today on the Villas at Creekside, a community for people 55 years old and older. When it's finished, it'll include 29 2- or 3-bedroom villas and outdoor amenities, including bocce and pickleball courts, a dog court, and outdoor gym.
So this development is unlike anything else that we currently have going on in Pittsburgh. This is a high-end 55 and up community with amenities.
The $12 million private development will be south of East 4th Street near Pittsburgh High School. There was also a groundbreaking celebration in Lamar, Missouri. The Barton County Chamber of Commerce has been fundraising to develop a park dedicated to the legendary Old West lawman Wyatt Earp. Now, Earp was born in Illinois but moved his family to Lamar around 1869 when he was 21 years old. During that time, he served as a constable in Lamar. Chamber officials hope the park, which will feature a statue of Earp and his first wife, Urilla, will serve as a tourist attraction and community gathering place.
And hope to really have a community outdoor concert area where we can have picnics in the park, where we can just do all kinds of things to really show off our history and just how cool our town is and our great rich history.
The Wyatt Earp Park, which will open in December, will be on the northeast corner of the Lamar Square at 10th Street and Broadway Avenue. Coming up, as the August 31st deadline approaches for the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, thousands of people are still awaiting evacuation. Plus, firefighters in California try to contain a fast-moving fire heading toward Lake Tahoe. Vice President Kamala Harris is in Southeast Asia, but her departure from Singapore to Hanoi, Vietnam was temporarily delayed after the delegation was made aware of a health incident among diplomats in Vietnam. Officials believe it was possibly related to the so-called Havana syndrome, which has sickened hundreds of U.S. diplomats all around the world since 2016, possibly from directed radio frequency energy. CBS News has learned the U.S. military is secretly rescuing Americans stuck outside the Kabul airport using helicopters and even some ground troops. Amid security threats, the State Department has instructed Americans waiting outside the airport to leave immediately. Reporter Skylar Henry has more on the evacuation efforts.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there is no deadline on U.S. efforts to help remaining American citizens who want to leave Afghanistan. That's ahead of President Biden's August 31st deadline for the withdrawal of U.S. troops.
There is no deadline on our work to help any remaining American citizens who decide they want to leave to do so, along with the many Afghans who have stood by us over these many years.
The Secretary of State said about 4,500 Americans have been evacuated since August 14th. As of Wednesday, some 500 were waiting to leave, and it's unclear whether an estimated 1,000 more want to evacuate at all. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked how evacuations would continue after U.S. troops have departed.
We're working on that.
At the same time, U.S. officials are warning about a real threat posed by the terrorist group ISIS-K, which they say has the ability to attack the Kabul airport.
We're operating in a hostile environment in a city and country now controlled by the Taliban, with the very real possibility of an ISIS-K attack.
Meanwhile, Afghan refugees began a new chapter as they arrived Wednesday at the Dulles Airport outside of Washington, D.C.
You happy to be here? Yeah, we're happy.
In San Diego, volunteers are helping furnish the new home of a family that fled Afghanistan last month, and 5 members of this all-girl Afghan robotics team, as well as more than 100 media workers, are settling in after touching down in Mexico this week. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
As military flights out of Kabul continue, more than 88,000 people have been evacuated since July. The World Bank is pausing financial aid to Afghanistan until it knows how the Taliban plans to rule. Spokesperson for the World Bank says it's deeply concerned about the situation and especially how the leadership will treat women in that country. A federal appeals court today upheld Dylan Roof's conviction and death sentence for the 2015 racist murders of 9 members of a black South Carolina congregation. The 3-judge panel ruled unanimously against Roof in the shootings at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston. In his appeal, Roof's attorneys argued that he was wrongly allowed to represent himself during sentencing. Thousands of firefighters are trying to box in a California wildfire that's advancing toward Lake Tahoe and has shrouded the popular vacation spot in ash and yellow smoke. The Caldor fire is less than 20 miles southwest of the lake that straddles the California-Nevada state line. It's destroyed at least 461 homes since it began August 14th in the Sierra Nevada. It's still threatening more than 17,000 structures. Later, folks gathered today in Lamar's Constitution Square to check out the Free Fair Carnival.
It was definitely a warm day for the Free Fair Carnival, but there are a few days of cooler temperatures on the way. We're going to break it all down next. Well, we saw another nice, hot, humid day across the area today. That's a trend that we're going to see for at least another day, maybe 2. Beautiful shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort just outside Seneca, Missouri. It was a lovely time lapse despite the fact that it was so hot outside. Over the last 36 hours, we can kind of track the heat as it came through the area, if you will, almost like a front of its own. 93 is what we hit yesterday, made it up to 95 today. And of course, heat humidity made it really unpleasant outside. Doesn't look too bad on the tower cam, but it's still a little bit warm for this hour. It's 10:17, 81, 85 is what it feels like. That dew point is at 71, and that's why we are seeing these high heat indices. So temperatures across the region looking about the same, mostly lower 80s across the board. Those dew points have come up just a little bit since earlier this evening, and that's put them into the muggy to almost soupy range for some of us, which has led to the feels like temperature still sitting in the mid to upper 80s for the majority of us at this hour. Heading into tomorrow, not much relief. That's why the heat advisory is still in effect. We're going to see a few isolated pop-up storms tomorrow, so that's why we're going to start the day at 76, 85 by 10, 91 by noon, 96 by 4, and from about 4 to 11 is when we may see an isolated storm or 2 across the area, but I think most of us, unfortunately, are going to stay dry. Hence the heat advisory still until 7 o'clock, except for Benton County. They lucked out. They are now out of that heat advisory. Skywatch storm tracker showing us nothing at all. You got to zoom out a little bit to find any activity. Been dealing with showers, thunderstorms, a few of those severe in Illinois, and same thing across western Kansas. You can see a warning pop up there a little bit, some showers and storms, but nothing like that in our area, nothing like that going to affect us. As we head into the future, 8:30 tomorrow morning, 77 is how we're going to start our day. It's going to warm up very quickly, and then you see those little pop-up storms around the area. This is 5 o'clock, and then they're going to kind of die out, and after they do, it just continues to stay clear, it stays hot, it stays muggy, and that's how it's going to remain into Friday as we hit highs upwards of about 92 to 96, and it's not going to cool off all that much. Saturday morning, 75, a little closer view where you can see some of those storms as they build into the area, or at least they try to. Some cloud cover by 3:30, and then there's those storms trying to fire around the area, but they're not really going to do anything for the temperatures, and that means they're also not going to do anything for the heat indices. We're going to be sitting in the lower 100s. Some places out west a little bit warmer, and it's just going to be yucky. So that's why we have one more alert day for Thursday, and then we get into the long range, and you see there's a little bit of a cool down by the weekend. Low storm chances. They pick up a little bit by the start of next week, but they're going to be pretty isolated to widely scattered at best. And then by the time we get into the end of next week, those temperatures going right back up again. So if you have any plans, try and enjoy what you can in the hit and miss storms over the weekend, because it's not going to stay this nice, if you can call that this nice, for very long.
Yeah, nice is relative, I guess. Thanks, Chris. Hey, the carnival's in town in Lamar, Missouri. It's the 78th annual Lamar Free Fair at Constitution Square. The month-long event started on August 7th, but the carnival rides and the booths, well, they just opened this evening at 6. Organizers want people to keep a few things in mind if they attend. Traffic will be limited around the square. Dogs are not allowed. And remember to drink plenty of water.
You know, we've had a lot of time separate in the last, 18 months to 2 years. And so just to have a time for our community to come out, see each other, see people that you haven't seen for a long time, and be able to spend time together just really makes a big difference.
Now tonight the carnival rides continue until 11. They'll also be open from 6 to 11 tomorrow and Friday and noon to 11 on Saturday. Coming up in sports, the Nevada Tigers aim to keep their run game rolling this fall, and Webb City and Joplin prepare for Friday night's Week 1 showdown. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
The Missouri high school football season is just 2 days away. Friday night, we start with a big one in Southwest Missouri featuring Webb City and Joplin. The two teams meet in Webb City in Week 1. This matchup been really good the last few years. Last year, the Eagles beat the Cardinals 41-40, their second straight win over Webb City, and the Cardinals' only loss in the regular season.
Of course it gives us confidence and motivation, but like always, Webb's a really, really good team, so they can come out and beat anybody no matter how good they are. If we come out there with the mindset that we're just going to beat them and not have to worry about it, then they could run it up on us and then beat us. So we really have to take every person seriously and every game seriously.
We've been ready since the last time we played them. Losing them 2 years in a row, it's not something that we like, so we're trying to make up for it this week.
The Nevada Tigers also open up the season on Friday night, hosting Logan Rogersville. The Tigers had a big-time bounce-back year last season, winning 7 games after going winless in 2019. And Nevada has plenty of experience back from last year's team, specifically on the offensive side. Tigers have 4 guys back on the offensive line and a backfield that features a pair of Big 8 players, Eli Chaney and Case Sanderson. So, like last year, Nevada will be a physical, run-heavy team.
We have 4 young men on the offensive line that are now 3-year starters. So they've been starting since they were freshmen or sophomores. It's a lot of experience. They know what to do when people blitz. They know how to pick up stunts. They know how to block. They know how to double team and come off a double team. So it's just been real effective for us so far this summer and early fall. We're loaded in the backfield. We've got a lot of good running backs. We can go 4 deep at tailback and 2 or 3 deep at wingback. We can go 2 or 3 deep at fullback. So we just feel like we're really talented in the offensive backfield.
The Kansas City Royals have won 7 of their last 9 games. Now, they've split the first 2 games of their 3-game series with the first-place Houston Astros. And this afternoon, KC tries to take the series in Game 3. In the 4th, Salvador Perez, his 34th homer of the season. Game tied at 1. Later, bases loaded for Whit Merrifield. He clears the bases with 1 swing. Grand slam from Merrifield. This game, though, would go to extras. In the bottom of the 10th, still tied up, Jake Myers lines it back off the pitcher. That's enough to allow Alex Bregman to score the winner for Houston. Astros take the series from Kansas City 6-5. Another extra innings game here. Cardinals finishing up a 2-game set with the Tigers. Paul Goldschmidt, first pitch swinging, his 20th of the year. St. Louis up early. Now in the 3rd, more from Goldschmidt. Another solo homer. The Cardinals up 2. Like I mentioned, the Tigers would send this one to extras. In the 10th here, Lars Nootbaar delivers the walk-off hit for St. Louis. Goldschmidt scores to win it. Cardinals top the Tigers today 3-2. That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Take time now to honor a local veteran. Everett Farmer served in the U.S. Army Air Corps from 1942 to 1945. The Fort Scott, Kansas Navy was stationed in France and Germany. And we salute Staff Sergeant Everett Farmer, a 4-state hero. When you're searching for the perfect vacation rental, the last place you might look is underground. But that's exactly where guests are going in France to experience a bunker turned bed and breakfast. Reporter Ian Lee has that story.
Drive by quickly and you might miss this bed and breakfast buried in the French landscape.
Bonjour.
Owner Serge Collou is a bit eccentric. you'd have to be to convert an old World War II bunker into a guest house. He says, we adapted this bunker while preserving a certain feel, but we wanted to give the building a new lease on life. It took a lot of elbow grease and more than 18 months to renovate his 4,300 square foot crib. Adorned with artifacts from the war, the Hideaway is a hot spot for history buffs and a party pad too. Kalu has his stash of booze locked away because he says guests aren't the only ones who like to let loose in the bunker. But underground fortresses aren't unique along the French coast. Germany built hundreds during World War II, part of its Atlantic Wall that failed to defend against Allied forces. Nearly 80 years later, most are just wasting away in the sand and salty air. Herr Ferrand has dedicated his life to save this dark chapter of French history. He says these bunkers will eventually disappear, so we should preserve the most beautiful ones. Like Kalu's, where for just under $400, you too can spend a night in this room without a view.
The bunker turned B&B has been open for about a year now and has had both French and German guests. $400 a night, no windows. I hope it has plumbing. I don't know.
It's pretty cool though. I mean, yeah, plumbing would be kind of important, but it does look like a pretty nice little getaway.
Well, yeah, and the history of it, gives it some extra interest.
But it does need the plumbing.
I would think. It'd make it a lot more comfortable. The weather is not going to be comfortable exactly for a while.
It is certainly not. Heat advisory continues until 7 o'clock tomorrow. That is the reason why heat indices tomorrow in the lower 100s. 7-day though, showing us a little bit of relief on the way, not much. And then by middle of next week, it's going to heat up again.
Final sports notes.
Just 2 days until the Missouri high school football season starts, which means we have one more day for previews. We're going to visit with the Liberal Bulldogs tomorrow.
Can hardly wait for the football season to begin. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget our morning show, and let's make it a great tomorrow.